I would love to know, what was your feeding journey like?
Yeah. Hard.
Yeah. Right.
I wish, well, one, I love Bobbie, and I was a big fan and a big user from the early days. My daughter is very large and ate a lot from day one, and I struggled a lot to create enough milk that would, be sufficient for her. And so we would breastfeed, and then she would also sometimes want more afterwards. I'm like, girl, we're done.
Right.
I need 20 minutes to myself.
Yeah.
And so pretty early on, we started introducing formula just as a way to, one, keep her full, but also give me a break. And it was game changing because, for all the reasons.
Yeah.
And she's so healthy and strong now. I'm like, she is totally, Bobbie built up.
Yeah.
But I think my only, not regret, but I want to talk about it because I really wish people could hear all other ways and stories of how to feed. I had a hard time at some point, like actually breastfeeding, but then still wanted her to have some breast milk. And so I moved to exclusively pumping and formula feeding around 6 weeks. And I spent like probably 4 weeks in dire pain and distraughtness until that point. And I just wish I almost like gave myself permission to do that sooner. And there was just so much, stigma that you had to like peel the layers back on. And
I know.
obviously, if we have a second kid, I have a different perspective now, but it's just not black and white. Like there's so many choices that you can have.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. Like we combo fed from, I think, 6 weeks on.
Yeah.
And it was such a struggle beforehand. And nobody ever talks about that. They just make it seem like, oh, breastfeeding's going to be really easy. You'll get used to it. It might hurt a little, but you'll be used to it.
Exactly.
I'm like, this is hectic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we love Bobbie here.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. And I think the hormonal changes that happen with breastfeeding is not something that we talk about enough. And I know some people who, are on a hormonal high when they're breastfeeding. They feel really great. In my case, I wasn't. And only when I stopped pumping did, my anxiety level subside. And it's so different for everyone. But just to even know, like, this could be a factor in a positive or negative way is not something that I think we're trained or talked about.
Started originally, once again, our surrogate was incredible. She was pumping colostrum before. And so we had a little bit saved up, and we started on colostrum and breast milk in the hospital, and for about the first month. And then after that, he started sort of rejecting the breast milk and struggling with some of his eating, and was visibly uncomfortable. So now we're fully on formula. And
wow,
it was just like a weird, I know this obviously like Bobbie.
Yeah.
I felt my husband and I sort of felt this weird shame around using formula. And I don't know why. Like part of me thinks it's just like another way for people to somewhat try to attack us of like, oh, you can't do this, or like your bodies don't produce this, so like it disqualifies you again. So I think like there's some still like shame that I carry around this and trying to like be protective. But since we went to formula, he is a completely new baby, and he's comfortable and growing and hitting all of his growth and benchmarks. Like it's been incredible, to see that transition from breast milk to formula, and how much he's responding and loving the formula.
Yeah. I hate to hear people being so critical about using formula. One, just let people do what works for them at the end of the day.
Right.
But there's so many reasons why breast milk or nursing just doesn't work.
Right.
Like you said, your son rejected it. I have a friend, she was an overproducer, which sounds like a dream to most moms. They just want to be an overproducer. But she had a condition where it was like too much fat in her breast milk or something like that, and her son couldn't take it. So there's just a variety of reasons. And I wish people just leave people alone.
I know. And we knew going into this, like, obviously you get told like there's people that are going to stand over you and be in the comment section and yell at you that you're doing something wrong at all times. But it just was one of those things that we're like, oh, the hits keep coming. So we're like, do we really want to talk about this? And I was like, yes, this is why we need to be, because we need to try to normalize this and also just educate people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then of course, if you have rigid ideas of what it means to be a good mom, or if breastfeeding seems to be, something everyone around you and culturally it's what's being kind of pushed on you. I've had people go to I go to a Mommy and Me, and like have to hide that I'm mixing my formula
Oh my
because there's so much
goodness.
stigma around it.
Yeah.
And so that is really challenging. And I do think that people that are making the decision to formula feed, it's a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
And that conflict can lead to some sort of mental health issues. So I think if you're struggling in any way and you're considering formula, there aren't that many of us that are like, I'm just going to use formula, right? It's kind of like this back and forth. Though I try to explain to people that culturally it's all sorts of strokes, right? Like I think of French women, they have low breastfeeding rates because they're like, breasts are for sex and they're for me. And
Oh, interesting.
I don't want to just feed my baby.
Yeah.
Listen, French women probably, a lot of them breastfeed, but this is interesting, like that we just have different cultural norms. So it's not universal. But I think if you're having this sort of conflict around what people are saying, what society is saying versus what you think is okay, even that it has to be secret sometimes, I think is a great indication that this is something to work out. This is something where therapy can be so helpful. And you maybe have been doing this of like, what are my values? What's most important to me? And that can help you align and make decisions that are value aligned.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because some people are like, well, everyone thinks I should breastfeed and that's what everyone's telling me to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's not working for me. I'm not able to sleep, whatever it is. And you can decide what's most important to me. Is it my connection with my baby or is it breastfeeding?
Exactly. And yes, I think at the end of the day, because I went through that as well, I just had to do what was best for me individually.
That's right.
Don't listen to what other people have to say. They're not raising your baby.
Right.
You are.
Right. You have to figure out, right, whether sleepless nights are good for you or not, whether I have a mood symptom or not is not something like my lactation consultant was going to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
Shouldn't have to deal with like, right. So for me, it was, and listen, there's, I think everyone in this field needs flexibility. I just really want that.
That's one of the things that looking back, I put so much pressure on myself to keep pumping and breastfeeding because, this was almost 10 years ago. The formula options were kind of the standard ones they've had for decades. And now there are better formulas like Bobbie. And I'm such a fan because if that was an option, I probably would have taken a lot of pressure off of myself to be like, you can only give breast milk because it was hard. And I think I struggled in a lot of other ways because I didn't feel like there were other really good options. And now there are. And I think that that's a game changer for women and families. It just to give them options that are healthier, are just more aligned with what is in breast milk and just then to give them a sense of security and safety that this is a really safe and healthy product for your baby. I feel like 10 years ago that wasn't around. And I really, I would have probably done things a little bit differently if it was available. There were people who kind of came out of everywhere, the cyber woodwork to say like, how dare you as a medical professional recommend formula. There's a study, there's a paper called the Lancet that talks about how medical professionals shouldn't recommend a specific formula type for women or for families. And just like that, me saying that formula is okay is wrong because breast is best and breast milk is best. And we should be only supporting that. And I was completely shocked. I work with dozens and dozens of women who come into my office postpartum and are struggling with feeding. I mean, to the point of having mental health challenges, sleep challenges, physical challenges. And I'm like, you have to do what works for you. So everybody can tell you, even myself, like what we think the best thing is, but you have to make the choices that are right for you and lean into what feels right for your body and your family. And that's really like these early stages of motherhood are where we really start to learn like, oh, this is a muscle I have to flex because you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life and the rest of your child's, upbringing. And I didn't know that they call it lactivist, like this whole lactivist movement was out there. And a couple things really stand out to me. It was total cyberbullying. I was super disappointed because I think that it felt really immature. It felt like disheartening that adults were treating other adults this way, that we're all supposed to be caring for families. And this was how you treated another health professional, another woman, another, medical provider who's trying to support people. I'm like, if you don't like it, just like move past it, but don't troll me,
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. The second thing is I doubled down and I was like, you know what? I put down like $1,000 and I was like, for every person who needs it, I'm going to give you $50 and you can either go buy formula or you can buy breastfeeding supplies or you can do whatever you want because everybody deserves options.
Yeah.
And I think that for me to say like, oh, you shouldn't do this. I'm like, that's not for me to say. I think that every person has to make the best decisions for them and we shouldn't shame them. And that paper that was referenced was put out in the 70s. And it was for the entire world. It's put up at the World Health Organization. So it was taking into account different Asian and African countries where they were not, supporting lactation for mothers. And it was formula feeding. And so it was it was totally taken out of context.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of privilege that goes along with assuming that everybody has access to breast milk, to donor milk, to breast milk supplies. And that's just not the case. There are people who are having to go back to work within weeks of giving birth, within days, and they don't have the capacity to pump or feed. And so it was just shaming everybody who chose a different way. And I just don't think that that's the kind of support that moms and families need. And I completely stand by that there are better formulas out there, that even if you choose any formula, like you have to do what is best for you and your family.
So it was important for me to research what I wanted Georgie and her life to look like when it came to, products and especially formula. And I found Bobbie.
Yeah.
And I also worked with a holistic doctor who, when we talked about this while Michaela was pregnant, she turned me on to Bobbie, and she is so particular and specific.
Yeah.
And I knew with her recommendation, I was like, okay,
I trust it.
I got this. I did the research.
Yeah.
I feel good about this. I feel like, this is the perfect journey for Georgie. So we used Bobbie right from the start, from day one. And we also used the breast milk, but we combo fed.
Yeah.
So we used Bobbie, and now after 3 months, I just felt like, okay, I feel like we are done the breast milk journey and we can go all the way with just Bobbie, and she loves it.
Yeah, same. I started with breast milk, and I mean, it was breastfeeding is hard, but we introduced Bobbie very early on. We used the Gentle, and it worked for her.
Yes.
Yeah, still to this day.
I know. So it worked, and we were just so happy. And it was funny. She had, like, when she came home, she was, spitting up a little bit for like a week, where the doctor was like, oh, do you want to try, just other formulas? And we tried, and they were disastrous for her. So like, we were like back to the Bobbie.
Yeah.
And then like within a week, she was like, the spitting up kind of stopped, and she was totally fine. And so it's been a really, really good journey for us, because I think it's for me too. Just that I'm comfortable and I know I'm giving her something that's good for her.
Yeah, for sure.